This time on episode 533 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we talk the Disney Plus series Agatha All Along, Season 1, Episode 6, Familiar by Thy Side.
I'm Anthony Bachman from All Things Good and Nerdy, a geeky podcast part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other fantastic geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Raised on X-Men, empowered by the Avengers, strengthened by the Defenders, webbed by Spider-Man, adopted by the Fantastic Four, and forged by S.H.I.E.L.D. Stand by for your Marvel debriefing.
And now it's time for your Marvel debriefing. I'm Agent Lauren.
I'm Agent Michelle.
I'm Agent Chris.
And I'm producer of the show, Director SP.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. The show's recorded on Saturday, October 19th, 2024, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast potential afterlife wide. So, Michelle, what did we see today?
Well, we are going to talk about Familiar by Thy Side, which premiered October 16th, 2024. Familiar Teen is much more than he seems, and his connections to the rest of the Coven are revealed.
Overall thoughts, Lauren, what'd you think?
So, I thought, 13 was a pretty tough age for me, but at least I never had to deal with death and soul migration and developing telepathy.
Jumping in time 3 years. Because he was 10 when WandaVision.
Good point. Yeah.
Michelle?
We got our flashback episode.
Chris?
Are we maybe reading too much into these hints on who the teen is?
It's not hints anymore, Chris, because it's Billy Maximoff all along. Right? It was a fun episode overall because of the flashbacks. We got to re-see a few things. My favorite scene in the whole thing was Ralph Boner comes back as Bonerific, and he paid the teen at the time, paid the Bonerific for an encounter in the parking garage. And there was even witch repellent.
Not like that.
Yeah, right. Not like that. He actually brought his boyfriend with him, but there was witch repellent involved, which I have no idea. What is that, garlic spray or something? I don't know.
So that was also my favorite scene. And afterwards, I found out that apparently Evan Peters, who played fake Pietro / Ralph Boner, he was the one who came up with most of those ideas, including the witch spray. He apparently brought props and stuff from home and got super into it. So that was really cute.
Props from home. That's great. Michelle, what was your favorite scene?
The interrogation scene, seeing it from reality.
And knowing what Billy knew going into that scene, right? So it was just a little bit different all the way around. It was fun. Chris?
That was my favorite, but a really close second was what I'm considering essentially the post-credit scene, where you just have Billy and Agatha on the road, and just the sudden seriousness of both of them, I think, was a great flip from every other interaction we've seen between them so far.
Everything's on the table now for both of them. They both understand where each other is coming from and everything. Yeah. Back to the interrogation scene. I just love the kick. I just loved the kick that Agatha did against Billy. He's like, why? I just wanted a glass of water. And then when she was writing down the notes in her fake cop notebook, right, and saying everything, it takes the first time it was a little awkward watching her do that and listening to her do that. But this time it was just really fun just watching her do it because you knew it was all fake. There was none of the facade of the police station around her or anything. It was literally her own home. All right. So, Chris, you mentioned that Billy and Agatha on the road. We do find out in this episode, or at least we think we do, why Billy is on the road, why he wanted to get this group into the road, right?
We did. And, you know, officially, if we find out at the end, yeah, he's Billy. He's trying to find Tommy. There's all that fun stuff. But when I was going into this episode, I was thinking, you know, they've been tricking us this entire time. Maybe they were tricking us and this isn't really Billy.
I think it's pretty much Billy. The way things went about with the car crash, which was referenced in episode 1, by the way, you might not have remembered it. Agnes was saying there was a car crash an hour before the event. And this was the car crash.
So apparently the description that they give of the car crash is exactly the description of the actual car crash that we see this episode, back when Agatha still thought she was a detective.
Exactly. And it was during the time where Tommy and Billy basically were being put to bed, and then they disappeared and nobody's seen them since. So this could be where Billy went off to. The question is, where's Tommy? Is Tommy in the ether? Did he get to inhabit another body? Is he with Mephisto? Where is Tommy? And that's going to be what is answered here in the coming episodes. So there's no answer right now. If anybody's got an idea, go ahead, shoot it out. But we don't know where Tommy is right now.
Yeah, either there's another kid out there named Thomas who died at that exact moment, or, yeah, it could be with Mephisto. Do y'all think we'll see him by the end of the season, or do you think this is going to be I saw that we might be getting a follow-up series to this.
Yeah, it's the Vision Quest series, and there has been another boy that has been cast for that, so likely could be Tommy. I don't know if we'll see him at the end of this or not.
I think that would be a real nice Easter egg thing to drop at the end of the series. Just like a 5-second at the end. Oh crap, look who it is.
Yeah, I don't know if the last episode is going to have Mephisto in it, or if we're going to have a post-credit scene with Mephisto in it, or whoever. And I don't know if Tommy is going to be with him, or if it's going to be Billy with the Young Avengers. I don't know. But if I was to guess at this point, I would say that Mephisto would be the post-credit scene. That's just a guess.
Or Mephisto is what's at the end of the road.
Could be the final episode. Yep, could be. And then, well, now that we know that Billy's quest is to get Tommy, I would think that if Mephisto's at the end of the road, we would see Tommy. And also, Chris, this does lead into your theory as well. Can you guess why?
Why?
Because if Sharon is Rio and they're both Death, then they wouldn't care for the way that Billy's soul did not take the river across and actually was reincarnated. So Death and Mephisto are very interested in our little boy Billy.
Oh, sweet Billy boy. What are we going to do about this kid? He's just got so much going on.
An amazing, well-adjusted kid. For what happened, you guys alluded to it before. He has this car crash, then all of a sudden he doesn't remember anything. And the last thing that he did remember, he shouts out Tommy, but he doesn't remember any of that. So as far as he's concerned, he's just dropped into this new family, and he does well. And he's got the power of being able to hear people that are close to him, their thoughts. That would freak anybody out. And he's actually dealing with it. So great, huh?
Yep. Yeah, stressful. Did anybody else get like really emotional during the car crash when they heard William Kaplan's, which I'm pretty sure that my theory going in was that when they kept calling him William it was just his parents, I think, that we saw calling him that. But to go from William to Billy, just all of a sudden being like, hey, could you call me Billy? If he was already sort of calling himself that and like among his friends and stuff, I think that would be easier. But we don't know.
He doesn't start calling himself Billy Maximoff until he meets Ralph Boner and figures out that he could be Billy.
Yeah, but like, I saw someone somewhere talking about like, wouldn't the parents think it's weird if he suddenly wants to be called something else?
Not really.
And yeah, my theory was nicknames exist and not everybody uses your nicknames. I mean, my nickname in high school was Furby. My parents certainly did not call me Furby.
Good to know, Agent Furby.
Ha.
But around, I would say, the high school years, or maybe even in between high school and college, a lot of people change their names one way or the other, from a nickname to a real name or a more formal name. I think it's not that unusual in the 13 to 16 year range for wanting to be called something different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michelle, you mentioned it before. We got our flashback episode. How'd you like it?
I liked it. I liked how it was structured. I like how it started with this very emotional rite of passage with William. And then going into just this story of him. And it just wasn't weirdly shot or anything like that. It was just like, here's his story. This is what we're going to do. So I liked it.
What it did for me, I don't know about you guys, but it made Billy likable. I finally got my likable character that I could hold on to for the rest of the series. I had been missing that. I had mentioned it before. And I was saying, like, if Agatha is supposed to be the central being of this whole thing, I'm not connecting with her at all in this whole thing. I am now connecting with Billy, which is good, I think, because if they do want to bring Billy forward and use him in the Young Adventures, you need to make him likable so that you can put him on screen again and that everybody would want to watch him. But the flashback did that for me because I really got a sense of who he is, what he knew and what he didn't know, because we didn't know that, and the unique ways that he came about investigating what had happened to himself. You know, the back searching for who Agatha Harkness was, and finding the reverse image, and then finding somebody that he could actually talk to, and also opening himself up to his boyfriend. I mean, all of that is very humanizing and makes him a very likable creature. And even though he's got a chip on his shoulder, you at least know that he's got goodness to him.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly unlikable before, but he was just kind of somebody who was there. And now that we have that background, I mean, I'm with you. We've got our hero now.
Michelle, when he did come home, there was something interesting that went on within the family.
One of the biggest horror tropes is the dog, and dogs always know. So when he came home, the dog was not friendly to our little Billy. So he knew, or she knew, the dog knew. The dog knew something was up.
There's a strong theory out there that dogs can actually understand somebody's soul and can recognize somebody's soul. And the soul that was in William Kaplan's body was not the original soul. So I think maybe that's what they were trying to portray. But yes, dogs they have those other senses that we don't have.
Mostly it's the sense of smell, which I kind of justified it in my mind as, yes, now there's somebody different living in his body, and who knows how that would affect you biologically. So yeah, maybe his scent changed just enough that the dog freaked out. But yeah, for sure, dogs tend to know, like, people.
They see and hear everything. They know you better than you know yourself.
I've heard so many stories of people who's like, my dog didn't like my boyfriend, and then it turns out he was a jerk. Stuff like that.
Mm. So Chris, we mentioned it before with the 3-year jump, and now Billy, is dating Eddie.
This gets really interesting. And this is really where I started to kick off okay, what kind of clues are they throwing at us? Because Eddie and William are having that conversation over text, and Eddie says, "Oh, you're my black heart," and uses that black heart emoji, which, I know a lot of people use colors for reasons. Some people, the reason is just that it's not red. but that's somebody else who could be Blackheart. And are they saying that maybe Billy is actually Blackheart? Are they saying that Eddie is Blackheart and that's why he's using that? And there's these red herrings all over the place. Plus, I thought going from William to Billy was a bit on the nose.
Yeah, the fact that it just happened to be a dead boy at the exact time that was named the same thing. Arguably, you can say Wanda was the cause of the crash because she knew that Billy would have to go somewhere. It's dark, but I could see that in there. And unfortunate. But yeah, there's also a lot of other fan theories out there. I'm not subscribing to anything right now on Eddie, but for Eddie's part, at 6, I'm assuming he's around 16 years old, he was remarkably pliable with everything that Billy was telling him. Like, he was cautious and everything, but he was like, okay, well, is this you? Then yeah, I'm in for the ride. At least he was that night. So we haven't seen him since, but I thought that was, I'll give him Eddie credit for that. He just didn't run away screaming.
And you can also see in William's room when Billy goes up there that he's got all the Houdini stuff. He's got all the weird, like, magic, mystic stuff going on. So this isn't a huge jump being interested in those things all of a sudden now. So you have to think that this is something Eddie's been used to.
Let's talk about his room for a second, because a lot of the things that we've already seen in like the challenges and stuff were in his room. So I think if somebody wanted to find out what the next 2 challenges are going to be, because I do think we're going to get another 2 challenges. We'll talk about that in a second, that you could scour the footage of Billy's room and figure out, like, maybe we're going to have a Wizard of Oz sort of thing, or maybe a Black Cauldron sort of thing. So there's a lot in his room that we could pull out and say, here are the challenges.
I took that to be more of inspirations for this season. Like the Alice in Wonderland, we started with Agatha basically in a completely different reality from everyone else. And then you could also take each challenge kind of like that. Wizard of Oz, they are literally on, I mean, it's not yellow brick, but essentially. And Black Cauldron, that one I'm still trying to figure out. It's been a few years since I watched it. But apparently, I've been trying to find information on, like, okay, does anybody have like a list of the stuff in Billy's room? And I haven't found that yet. But apparently Joe Locke did have some input into the set decoration. Like when he arrived there, he's like, I don't think Billy would be a fan of these movies, so let's replace that with like a Trans Lives Matter flag. There's some stickers that he didn't quite think were fitting for the character, stuff like that. So he did have some input on replacing. But yeah, I need to go back and just pause and look through the room and see what else there is to see, because I'm sure things there were deliberate. Like, set decorators love that sort of thing.
Apparently. Talking about the future trials, Chris, what do you think? You got a guess for what's coming up?
I don't know. And like, I'm really interested in seeing what we're going to get from a trial from Lilia. But she was also thrown off the road, and we don't know what's going on with her and Jen yet. But we've already seen Jen's trial, so I don't have to worry about that one. And if Billy is in the coven, do we get a trial for him?
Good question. I don't know whether we can call him in the coven or not, because he wasn't one of the original 5. He was an add-on. He went down into the basement after they had already opened it.
And we don't have a trial for Sharon or Rio yet. Do they both get one? Do they only get one because they're the same person?
So first of all, your theory is that they're the same person. I actually subscribe to that theory, but it's just a theory, so we don't know. But we do know that Rio was brought as a replacement for Sharon. So I would think between the two of them, they would only need one trial.
That makes sense.
And then Michelle, where's Rio?
Yeah, where is Rio? We didn't see her get shoved to the side of the road. We haven't seen her come out when Agatha did, and when Agatha was confronting Billy with that whole taunting of, oh, why are you on the road? Is it to see mommy? No.
Did
Is
Michelle
it
get
for
shoved to the side of the
daddy?
road?
Who's probably, yeah. It's like, is she just looking at them and waiting for her moment? Or did she disappear off to some other part of the road and abandon Agatha? Where could Rio be?
Great question. If we subscribe to the theory that Rio and Sharon are the same person, they were at least in the episode when you talk about the flashback, not current time, but it was flashback. Also, we got to see Alice by the accident on the side of the road at the car crash. She was part of the Eastview Police Department. So I don't know where Rio is. I think she might have been actually tending, if she is deaf, she was tending to Alice.
And if we're going to fully subscribe to the theory that Rio and Sharon are the same person, then Billy had at least a passive interaction with all of them before he actually became Billy.
Indeed.
Or at least before they came on the coven. That's what I meant.
Right. And this whole thing is woven together very intricately, even all the way back to WandaVision, because you have all the same characters. But you had the coven that was interacted with before with the palm reading. I mean, come on, palm reading at a Bar Vizsla?
Did you notice the reflection in the crystal ball of Billy?
No.
So you've got William Kaplan, who is still definitely William Kaplan at that point, going in there for his palm reading. In the crystal ball reflection, it is definitely a post-body swapping Billy.
Oh, interesting. And that's why she was getting the vibe of two different. She didn't know that it was going to be Billy Maximoff. She just knew that it was going to be two different people at that point.
Yeah. So, speaking of this scene, I've mentioned before that whenever Lilia blurts out like a tarot card, that I've started looking into, okay, what is the meaning of this? The tower reversed is what she points out here. And that can mean averting disaster, resisting change, avoiding loss, which technically came true in that the parents avoided a total loss. They still have their physical child, I guess. Avoiding the loss of Billy's soul into the ether. I don't know. It does kind of fit.
They don't know that William is gone.
Nope.
And it kind of robs them of the ability to breathe. But it happens all the time with people like strokes that change, or people that have head accidents or something like that. I've seen it before. I had a friend in high school that went through it, and he was completely different.
Same.
He did remember who everybody was, but he was a completely different person than he was before. It was a skiing accident, and he was wearing a helmet, which back then was hard to believe, but he was going so fast that it was a traumatic head injury when he hit the tree.
Yeah, I had a few friends who had like car accidents and stuff and ended up with traumatic brain injuries. And yeah, it's difficult for everyone. It's difficult for the people around to know that like this person isn't who I remember it, who isn't who I was expecting, even though they physically are. And I imagine it's got to be hard from the actual patient point of view of, I'm not sure in like how much people are aware of how much they change. Like, I think it depends on the degree of head injury and all of that. But yeah, it's not exactly that particular aspect of this has not been that far-fetched due to that.
Right. And then the whole thing with the soul migration or reincarnate, what are we going to call this? I was thinking of it in terms of a reincarnation. It really wasn't, but what are we going to call this?
I use soul migration because that's what it's been referred to in the comics.
Okay.
I like to think of it as body snatching, just because I think that's a funny concept to put with it.
Well, technically true in this case. Like, for instance, if Mephisto and Death finally catch up with Billy and like, no. You've done a wrong here. You need to get out of this body. Is William Kaplan still going to be alive?
I don't think so.
Even though he was dead, does Billy Kaplan come back? I have seen it done before where the original person returns. But in this particular case, I don't know. I don't think so.
And we definitely heard him die because you heard the heartbeat just stop.
That was devastating. Also, I only noticed at the end of this episode, but behind Joe Locke's name in the credits, there's a newspaper headline that says, "Near Death in Westview." And I had to go back and check, and apparently it's been there the whole time.
Yep. A lot of the stuff's been here the whole time. I've been slowing down the credits and watching through it, but on the other hand, I wasn't that, I'll admit it, I wasn't that engaged with this. We talked about it originally. It's like, this is a unique concept. I'm in it for the ride, at least for now. But it didn't really grab me until this episode. And it took them until episode 6. Michelle, you've been talking about the pacing of these miniseries since WandaVision, really. And this fits, I think, within that, both with Star Wars and with Marvel. I think it fits within there. And I just hate that we have to get to the midpoint or the episode right after the midpoint to really start caring about the series and it gets interesting. And there's always been, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but there's always been like a downslope afterwards where it just doesn't keep crescendoing. So I don't know. What do you think about this series so far?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had that first episode where, I mean, we see Agatha come out of it, but you could almost skip that episode and start with number 2. We have the trials, getting the coven together. We have the Salem 7, which they almost seem like an afterthought right now because there seem to be just like this catalyst. Almost somebody else could be substituted in. And like, you're right. We now finally get this whole bigger reason why everything's happening. We get a truer reason why everything's happening. And it's episode 6. So here we go. The back half should be a lot more interesting than the front half.
I disagree that this is where people started caring, but then again, I've been grabbed from the start. This show is made for me.
I would agree with that. The show is definitely made for you. And Michelle, you mentioned that you could skip episode 1, which on the surface I would agree with, but without episode 1, you don't get that great interrogation scene in the flashback either. It's a lot of time to spend for a shorter flashback gig, but it did work in this episode. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to do it.
Would it have been better to have learned who he is, had more of a right before a trial, so we could have rooted for him in a sort of, and just sort of seen a trial in a different way? I don't know. I do like this show. I do. But I do wonder where it is in the bigger scheme of things. Is it connected to anything else. Is this just going to be a way to introduce Mephisto? And they just did it because Catherine Hahn's amazing and she deserves her own show, which is true. So I hope she gets another show after this because she's just eating it up. And I'm saying it's a bad show. This is not the worst of the MCU TV outings.
Mostly because it's unique, which I love. I love the fact that they're not going down a trope. We have so many sequels and retreads out there that I'm glad we're getting something that's off the wall. I am. And as far as where it connects to the rest of the universe, unfortunately, I think we saw a lot of stuff in Phase 4 and Phase 5, which are going to end up on the cutting room floor. There's going to be some mid and post-credit scenes that aren't going to see the light of day for various different reasons. I don't think it's all connected was really prevalent in Season 4 and Season 5. I don't know why. Was it because Kevin Feige was asleep at the wheel? Is it because Victoria Alonso had some issues? I don't know. And then she was let go by Marvel Studios. So for better or for worse, she is now the scapegoat of all of that storytelling. And literally, I'm saying for better or for worse, because I don't know what the cause of the whole thing was. But also, we had the main villain's personal issues, the actor's personal issues, which caused a major pivot. I don't know if the pivot would have happened with or without that, but it was definitely an excuse to make a huge pivot in the MCU. So because of that, I don't know what's going to stay and what's going to go. It's hard to tell right now. So that's why I keep on coming back to, in this particular series, what is this going to mean in the grand scheme of things? It's not like the phenomenal one-off Halloween episode that we got a couple years ago. This is a whole miniseries, and it's with established characters and established within the universe. There's established time things that are going on. There's a reference to a sword cover-up. These are all things that are existing. And will they continue to be existing? Are they going to continue to be referred to? What about this is going to be perpetual within the MCU? I don't know. And I don't need to know at this point in time either. I'm not saying, well, I need to know everything of how it's all connected. No, I don't know. But it would mean more to me eventually if I would know how it was all connected. Just like the original Phase 1 episodes, or movies. We got to the Avengers and we're like, oh, that's what it all means, right? And it just made it that much more special. So hopefully we get that moment as we go forward here. And as far as everything that's all connected, Lauren, I want to throw this out there for you. We have one of your favorite mutants out there, and he does have a religious background. And if you follow the family lineage, there is something special that happens in this episode.
The episode begins with William Kaplan's bar mitzvah. And I got really excited because so often in particularly Marvel, they forget which characters are certain religious backgrounds, ethnicities, whatever, like in Moon Knight. That was still annoyed about that. But yeah, they actually remembered Billy Kaplan is Jewish in the comics. He was brought back into a Jewish family. And originally, I was checking to see if this is still the case. And apparently it is. Before 2015-ish, we all thought that Pietro and Wanda were Jewish and Roma. But now I guess they're just Roma because Magneto isn't their father anymore. And I'm still mad about that. But anyway, while this is going, so Joe Locke, the actor, is not Jewish, but the reactions that I've seen from most people has been like they portrayed the bar mitzvah very respectfully, very accurately. And the only thing is that the portion of the Torah that he reads, they're like, yeah, he wouldn't have started like mid-verse essentially, but the Torah verse that he reads is Leviticus 10:1-2. Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abiru, took their censers, put fire in them, and added incense, and they offered unauthorized fire before the Lord, contrary to his command. So fire came out from the presence of the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. I feel like this could apply to Wanda's unauthorized creation of Billy and Tommy, and at pretty much that moment, they're getting ready to not exist anymore.
Kind of a prelude, like a wake sort of thing. Huh. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I guess it's not something you'd really pick up on unless you read or speak Hebrew or know somebody who does, and thankfully the internet is full of people who do.
Absolutely. We do have an episode that's pretty much dedicated to Agatha and to Billy and the people around them, but we have several high-profile actors in this that really aren't getting the screen time that they deserve. Right, Michelle?
You don't get Patti LuPone and sidelined her by shoving her into a ditch. She has got to come back and have her moment, have her trial. She is a queen of Broadway. She is a force on and off screen. You just don't get her and sideline her like that. Just like Audrey Plaza, you don't get her and sideline her. So she has to come back. So Rio's definitely coming back. We've got a tremendous cast, and we need to make sure that by the end we have utilized them all to their highest potential.
I don't think Patti LuPone is, or Lilia, I don't think she's dead. I think that they will resurrect themselves out of the pit just like Agatha did. Or just climb out or whatever. I don't think that they're gone. I don't know where everybody is, but I think that the group will reconstitute itself of who's left anyway, once they get to the next trial. Personally, and I love Patti LuPone. I mean, she's made appearances in other genre stuff recently, which has just been hilarious. And just watching her, not really understanding everything that's going on around her, like technologically, when talking about sci-fi, she just pulls it off. It's great. I love her. So yeah, we need to see more of her. Absolutely. We get version of the Witches Road song again, Chris, and I don't know about you, but that earworm has been with me for several weeks.
Where are the covers of it? I still am waiting for people to make the covers of it. But, you know, it's nice just to see that Billy's already listening to it. William maybe already had the album. Who knows? He was already into that kind of thing. It's just, you know, I like the song. I want to hear more versions of it. Somebody go make it.
People have been doing covers on TikTok.
I want full-on metal covers.
I want a metal cover too.
Frog Leap Studios, do it.
There's a band that I like, Easy Band. They do norteño covers of various songs. I'd love to hear their take on it.
So, Lauren, are we going to see Ralph Boner again?
I don't think so, but I'm glad we got to see him again. As we mentioned earlier, he was the Reddit contact that Billy made while trying to figure out, okay, what exactly happened? Because I have my memories from before and I have my memories from after. How did the before lead to the after? So yeah, he's been hanging around Reddit and ends up making a deal, and which Ralph is willing to, instead of the fee they agreed on, he's like, okay, but I can sell you tickets to my one-man show for half price, because
I want to see it.
I'm feeling like the one-man show might be more in reference to the number of people in the audience from the sound of it.
Probably.
Yeah, his life has not been great. We find out that he's mad because he's like, Agatha wrecked the market value of my house. I mean, technically, Agatha's still living in his house.
He left his Blu-ray collection behind.
The good thing with how they've presented Ralph, though, is he's an easy character to bring back if they just need to for a short thing. So it could easily happen.
And his obvious already connection into the Marvel Universe, you know? It was genius the way that they brought him back with WandaVision. I love that. It got everybody just, oh, is this the multiverse? And are they bringing the Fox people in now and everything? I just love how they did that. And then...
Nope, epic troll job.
And I love it. And I love Evan is just leaning into it too. He's like, yeah, okay, we'll do this. We'll do this.
Yeah, he's a fun actor. And again, we mentioned that he improv'd some of his stuff. And yeah, he just brings the charm to poor Ralph.
Question. So the title of the episode is a line in the song. It's, the familiar
by thy side.
Familiar by thy side. So who exactly is the familiar here? I know Agatha was saying, here's my pet earlier, but who is the familiar? Are we talking about Billy? Could it be Eddie? Could it be somebody else? I don't know. What do you guys think? Who's the familiar?
I think that it's more in terms of she's known him before, so therefore he is familiar to her.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a play on words there.
I can see that.
I'm hoping they pick up a pet while they walk on the road.
Maybe that could be the Black Cauldron connection. They get the pig. They get Gurgi.
Maybe. Also, she mentions that both Billy and Wanda have a tell. I was trying to think of that. What do you think their tell is? And then she mentions that every witch within 300 miles or whatever will know who they are now or who Billy is now. So I don't know what that is. That just because he's broadcasting telepathically? Is because of his unmitigated magic, his very powerful magic, that he is the reincarnation of the Scarlet Witch? I don't know. What do you think his tell is?
I wonder if it's something with the hands. I know Wanda was very much a hand, the way she did her fingers and hand movements. And then we saw the last episode, the close-up of the hand. Maybe it has something to do with the hands.
Maybe the magical signature, the feeling of the magic. I don't know.
I can see that. Because even though it's not science, it could be science-y, and where everybody has their own signature, which you can bring out in some sort of sensing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Also, we have a demonstrated ability now for Agatha to not remember names. She didn't remember Tommy's name. She called him Toby. I'm not sure if that was a reference to Tobey Maguire or not, but you got Toby, and then she couldn't remember Sharon's name. So is there a link to those two and something else? I don't think that they've just dropped this in. I think there's meaning behind it. So the question is she just really that bad with names, which I don't think, or is there something bigger afoot?
So this might tie into Aubrey Plaza. On Parks and Recreation, there's a scene where Nick Offerman's character, Ron Swanson, is like, yeah, I like to mess up people's names every so often so they don't think I care too much. And then Aubrey, who's kind of his apprentice at the moment, is like, yeah, thanks, and then gives a different name, and he's so proud of her. So do you think it might be something like that? Like, don't think you're too important to me.
Could be. Yep. I was thinking it was more along the lines of where their soul is in the ether, in the space, and where it should be. Like if Rio and Sharon are the same person, that would obfuscate the Sharon identity, and it would make Agatha difficult to sense who that was. Similarly, if Tommy is really somebody else right now, or out in the ether, or possibly fully dead, then she wouldn't recognize that name either. So it's possible, a wide variety of things. Very possible.
I'm with Lauren. I just think she doesn't care.
Do you believe her now?
I do believe her. This is the first time that I think I fully believe Agatha, especially once that last scene kicks in. I mean, this is just a straight up, all right, cool. This is you. I'm going to tell you what I'm willing to tell you. So you know things. I'm going to obviously hold things back. And I don't care if you know that I know more things than I'm telling you that I know. And let's go finish off the road.
This is a big discussion that we were having, whether we believed her or not. Lauren, what do you think?
I think she tells the truth when it suits her. And I think right now it suits her.
I think she tells the truth according to how she sees her reality at the moment.
So from a certain point of view.
Yes. Kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There we go. There's the connection.
Technically, I guess Agatha could be Billy's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I could see that in more ways than one because of what we know of Agatha's background in the comics. Yeah, definitely. I did prepare a question. I've been asking questions all along, but I did prepare a specific question. I think I'm going to have to modify how it's written in the show notes, but I was asking, what is your favorite, and I put reincarnation. We could substitute soul migration for that. What is your favorite soul migration story from a TV show, a series, or a film? There's been a lot of them over the years. We all recognize when a soul goes into another body. There's a lot of, in particular, films out there. But what are some of your favorites? Michelle, do you have some favorites?
Well, in anime, there's this whole big drama, genre of reincarnation, soul migration, whatever you call it. And just a few that I like is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, My Next Life as a Villainess, and Ascendance of a Bookworm. Those are just a few that I have watched and enjoyed.
Lauren?
Okay, so one is a book, A Memory Called Empire. It's the first in a duology. And the reincarnation there is more scientific. There's a colony that, in order to preserve their knowledge, that because they're, a colony in space, in order to preserve their knowledge of, okay, you're doing this job, here's all the knowledge that you need. We need to just continue with it because there's not enough people to really have that break of training. So they have these little implants that contain the accumulated knowledge of the people who held that job before them. And it's a big plot point. Technically, Jupiter Ascending, I guess, counts as a reincarnation story. It's more that just because of odds that some people are exact genetic copies of other people. And again, that plays a huge plot. This undocumented migrant to the US ends up being the reincarnation of a space queen. I know it's a trash movie, but it's my trash movie. I have like a figure of Jupiter in her beautiful wedding dress in the movie on my shelf. And then more straightforward reincarnation is Avatar: The Last Airbender, because the Avatar is very much inspired by Buddhist lamas who get reincarnated. And again, in Avatar, they have the previous knowledge and access to the ability to talk to previous incarnations of the Avatar.
Chris?
First thing I thought of instantly was another anime, Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon. It is basically exactly what it says on the tin. Somebody is just reincarnated as a vending machine. And it's so much better than it has any right to be. If we're going to stretch things a little bit, Immortal Hulk, because, he can die, but then it turns midnight and he comes back, and it's Immortal Hulk, and it's amazing. Al Ewing is the best right now. And if we're going to go on the Avatar train of pick up the powers and the memories of everybody that came before you, My Hero Academia.
Right. When I thought of this, I went back to the very first property that I saw that was of similar ilk. And because I'm older than you, I'm not surprised that I'm the one that's going to bring this up. But there was a 1978 movie called Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty about an NFL quarterback.
That's a good one.
Yeah, is always the first go-to in my mind. But recently, there's a ton, right? So if any of you listening to this right now have somebody or a story or a film or whatever that comes to mind, please let us know, because I'm using this as I have to go see this sort of thing. But the next one, which has been relatively recent, and I don't know if you can fully throw it into here, but I'm going to anyway. I'm going to stretch, as you guys have been doing. I'm going to stretch it a little bit. I'm going to go with Altered Carbon, which is a series on Netflix, where you have basically souls at the heart of it that are going from sleeve to sleeve to sleeve, or body to body to body sort of thing. And you can get a little immortal by doing that, which I don't particularly care for in human beings, but it is a wonderful told story, and it has actually some Marvel actors in it as well. So yeah, that is Altered Carbon. And Lauren, I know that you have some personal issues with some of the people in there, but it is a good story anyway. So yeah.
It's more I have an issue with the author of the series it's based on.
Yeah, I mean, there's other series out there like Ender's Game, which people have issues of the creator with, right? Can you enjoy the creation without enjoying the creator or supporting the creator? I don't know.
It really depends.
Yeah. Debate for another time. All right. So that was our takes on Soul Migration. Before we get out of here right now, I just want to say, we're a few days away. I know we've gone extremely long, but this was an extremely good episode. In a few days from now, on Saturday, the 26th of October, 2024, I will be at VoltCon in Indianapolis. It'll be the 40th anniversary of Voltron airing on the television as a cartoon. It is not just Voltron related, although this one is more specific Voltron. It is all mech anime, so you can think Gundam, Macross, Robotech, that sort of thing. So it's my jam, and I'm going to go to there. There's going to be a couple of the people that we've podcasted with in the past. Sean Beef's going to be there. So if you guys are in the area and you want to meet up, go ahead, send me a note, and we'll try to meet up with you. My focus is largely going to be on the con from when it starts at 10 to at least the cosplay at around 5 or 6 at night. Schedule's now out. But outside of that, I will be available to meet anybody. So I will be there. If you want more details on VoltCon itself, you can go to voltcon.org. All right. Last thoughts. Lauren?
Oh boy, this episode. Yeah. Do you think we're going to get something for next week's episode, which could technically count as a Halloween episode since it's the day before? Guess we'll see.
I think we'll get a little bit more spooky. Yeah. Michelle?
I know we talked about it, but does Mephisto have Tommy?
That's a good question, Chris.
I'm still trying to understand how we got an episode with no Aubrey Plaza, and somebody over there really has some explaining to do.
We didn't talk about it, but I think it has a large to do with the budget available for the miniseries and how many episodes they could afford Aubrey Plaza, because she's kind of a big name now. And for me, I mentioned it before, but perhaps Billy's Room does hold the clues to the final 2, which is Road Trials. So I'll be referring back to that and seeing if we've seen anything. I'm not going to predict anything because I'm horrible at predicting anything, but I'm going to go back and see, oh, so they did lead us into it. Anyway, next time we'll be talking about Agatha All Along, Season 1, Episode 7. That will be the penultimate episode that we have on Agatha All Along, because they will be doing 9 and 8 together. So there will only be 2 episodes of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. left of Agatha All Along. Lauren, if somebody has some feedback that they would like to get to us, how would they do that?
Well, you can find everything about us at our website, legendsofshield.com. You can give us your opinion on the episode or your favorite reincarnation story at our voicemail, 844, the bus one. That's 844-843-2871. And you can join our Discord server at gonnageek.com/discord. And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the gonnageek.com network.
We are indeed. All right, guys, I'm excited to see the next episode. I hope you are too. And until then, I'm the director, SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
I'm Agent Michelle.
And I'm Agent Chris.
Hope you all have your Halloween candy purchased.
I need to rebuy it because I've sort of eaten it.
This is a reminder. You need to go out and rebuy your candy, Lauren. Chris?
We hid mine. I don't know where it is. It's in the house somewhere.
I put it in a locked bag. Then gave the key to somebody else. All right, we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. The intro music heard on this podcast is Great Marvels of the World by Lynn Publishing, found on pond5.com. The outro music heard on this podcast is Cinematic Trailer by Ed Records, found on audiojungle.net. Other transitional music on this podcast is found on incompetech.com, audiojungle.net, and pond5.com. For more information about this podcast, please visit legendsofshield.com. Excelsior!
That car crash, though, I was just,
Oof.
just looking at the screen, just dumbfounded because I saw the back door hit the tree and knowing where he was in the car, I'm like, oh no. Because from the moment that we saw Billy at his bar mitzvah, I was thinking that somehow like the transfers had already gone or whatever. So I was thinking that was our Billy. And nope. We had to have an event to make that happen. And Disney sucks at those, by the way. Oh, they're always so heart-wrenching. I wonder if it was a practical effect or not. Not with somebody in the car, but like them actually wrecking a car that way. Oh, also, did you guys see that the truck was in the wrong lane? It was coming at them in their lane, which is why they had to swerve to avoid. It wasn't like the mom was driving in the wrong lane. It was that the truck was coming at them in the wrong lane. Then I was thinking, since I've seen it recently, there was a bunch of scenes where people were driving like madmen away from the Hex Westview. I was thinking maybe that was a truck that we had already previously seen, but I didn't go back and correlate it to anything. Like maybe somebody was in it that we knew that was driving. Like Darcy.
Ooh, didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like who, and it could have just been somebody that was scared crapless and they were just trying to get the hell out of there, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, because I could definitely understand that as like a everybody going crazy situation.
It was horrible. If you go back and rewatch it, especially the last few episodes, you realize the nightmare that these people were going through. Like the whole Halloween episode, we talked about it at the time, but the Halloween episode where everybody was out trick-or-treating when they were near Wanda, but as you got to the outskirts of town or away from Wanda Street, people were literally just, stuck out there. And there were people that were saying, my kid hasn't been outside of their room in weeks or stuff like it. It was horrible. They were imprisoned. Horrible.
Yeah.
So if you could get away from that, I would. And you think in broader terms of the MCU, how many people have just been traumatized? Yeah, the two attacks on New York, the WandaVision. I mean, there's just been horrible things that you go to Eternals and you got this big frickin', which I think they're going to retcon, but you got this big frickin' celestial that's cracked through the planet. It's going to give people serious PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy living in the MCU.
Yeah, there's a reason that whenever they ask, like, oh, which fictional universe would you like to live in? That is never mine.
So I'm missing Katie Sackhoff in Cincinnati today.
Aw.
Yeah, a lot of people are at, I think it's Cincinnati Comic-Con. I didn't realize it was going on today. But since I'm going to Volcon next week, I probably wouldn't be going. But there is actually a lot of notable people there, celebrities. Let's see. I'm actually shocked that this many notable people are coming to Cincinnati. So a lot of voiceover actors like Allison Court, Allison Seeley Smith, Catherine Disher, David Wenham,
Ooh.
Emily Swallow will be there. She's been really prolific in the cons, though, so I'm not really surprised. George Buzza,
Ooh, nice.
Jason Isaacs,
I've seen him at a con before. He's a lot of fun.
Lenore Zahn.
Lenore's on.
Lee Majors is coming. That'd be right to see him. Lou Diamond Phillips. Ming-Na Wen.
Hey.
And Odor Fur. Who's in...
But that's the one you're the most
Ooh.
disappointed in missing.
Oded Fair?
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
I could catch him tomorrow if I went down tomorrow. They've listed him as The Mummy, Deuce Bigalow, Resident Evil, and Once Upon a Time. But we know that
No
he's
Disco?
Disco is not in there, although I do like his character in Disco. Peter Weller, Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman is fantastic at cons. Like, he stayed after at that one disaster con that I went to where, yeah, and him and Charlie Hunnam were just like incredibly nice.
Sam Jones.
He's always
Larry
nice
Houston.
too.
And then the last one of note, I've basically gone through the whole list anyway, is Simon Kassianides.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Bakshi from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Field.
He's also in Mandalorian.
Yeah. Also, he voiced How to Train Your Dragon 2. So I'm not sure what character he played there, but yeah. So yeah, I'm missing all these people. I'm like, oh, I really want to go.
If you go over to the comic creator side, there's Larry Houston and Kevin Eastman.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it would be nice just to meet Ming-Na once. Say, I podcasted about you so many times.
I think I did. I got a picture taken with her once. Super nice.
Katie would be nice, but I mean, I really love how she chews through scenes. She dominates every single scene that she's in, or at least is on par with anybody else that's in the scene, right? She's just that great. But aside from that, I don't know if I connect with her that much. I would love to meet Emily Swallow, though, and just say thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's what I'm missing this weekend, unfortunately.
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2013 through 2024.